What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Adam Pearce's new role, Dominic Mysterio's on-screen girlfriend, Chelsea Green as a hot nun, CM Punk is interested in a wrestling role, why Sasha Banks vs Belair isn't going to happen again, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Our first story looks at Adam Pearce being promoted. As big news for former 5-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion Adam Pearce, both for his work on camera and behind the scenes. Pearce has been working as an authority figure for Raw and SmackDown for some time now, and it looks like Vince McMahon is happy with his work as an on-air authority figure, with Ringside News reporting it's been told that Vince McMahon likes Adam Pearce's work on screen because it's credible. He also plays the WWE official role differently than it's been done before. Now PW Insider is reporting that Pearce's work hasn't gone overlooked. In recent weeks, Adam Pearce has moved up in terms of responsibilities behind the scenes. We confirmed this morning that Pearce's new title is Director of Live Events. In the past, that role has usually meant overseeing live events and touring creative lineups, so it's another sign that WWE is preparing strategies for returning to the road. This would have been a role previously filled by Michael Hayes, who in recent months has been working on producing many of the main event matches and angles for Roman Reigns on the SmackDown brand. So it's a case of Hayes putting his expertise elsewhere. We're sure Adam Pearce would do a good job in his new role. Next up, Chelsea Green's many rejected storylines. Chelsea Green was released from WWE on 15th April, but she hasn't wasted any time dishing out the dirt. During an appearance on Straight to Hell with Chelsea Green, the former NXT superstar discussed a number of ideas she pitched to the WWE. Oh my gosh, I had so many. I had a Daisy Duke character. I had a sexy nun character for the Messiah, Seth Rollins. Like, what would be the Messiah's follower or a worshipper? I pitched to be Dominic's girlfriend. I pitched so many. One of my favorites that I pitched was being a triconic. So like trying to get in and be with them and do a fake Aussie accent and try to split them up, but have them realize that I'm really the crazy one. Green suffered some incredibly bad luck when she was promoted to SmackDown, only to suffer a broken wrist in a debut match. The second time Green had broke her wrist. Some fans have speculated that WWE was reluctant to keep her around, perhaps feeling she was injury prone. Or whether or not that's the case, it sounds like Green suggested a slew of storylines for her character as she told Cultaholic in an exclusive story. When it's a girl, I do try and ask because I feel like it's a respect thing. However, I'm too afraid to ask Seth Rollins, and I don't know Dominic, so I just pitched that. And honestly, by the 6th pitch, I didn't care. I was literally pitching whatever. I think at one point I pitched to be with Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I asked them, I pitched to be with John Morrison and The Miz. I didn't ask them, but they're Matt's friends. It was kind of just like, you know what, I have an idea, I'm typing it, I'm sending it, and that's that. But this isn't the first time fans have heard about a released or underutilized superstar suggesting a number of ideas. But what do you think of our pitches? Would you have liked to see them play out on television? The idea of a sexy nun kind of interests us, but yeah. Moving on. Next up, the real reason Randy Orton didn't like Riddle. Randy Orton is currently working alongside former US champion Riddle, and while Team RK Bro might be short-lived, the unusual pairing has caught the fans' attention. However, in real life, they didn't get off to a good start. The Viper recently appeared on the Kurt Angle show, revealing his initial thoughts on wrestling's ultimate bro, discussing an incident in Miami where NXT and main event roster stars were crowded into a locker room, making for an uncomfortable experience. Riddle is known for stirring the pot, as seen by his past attacks on Brock Lesnar and Bill Goldberg on social media that many fans saw as Riddle rudely attempting to get himself over at the veteran's expense. As fans know, rookies are supposed to introduce themselves to the locker room as a sign of respect, something it sounds like Riddle did not do. Fortunately for Riddle, things have reportedly mellowed in the locker room from the days of when The Miz was kicked out of the locker room for a breach of wrestling etiquette, apparently spilling chicken crumbs in Chris Benoit's bag. The Viper seems to be a big fan of Riddle's work now and told Angle, Matt Riddle, yeah, I think he's going to do fantastic. I think he has already kind of outshined most of his little class of NXT that have kind of come up over the last year. I mean, you have a lot of those guys doing well. Our fans are curious to see how the Orton-Riddle team progresses and whether it will lead to Orton attacking Riddle or perhaps head in a different direction. Next up, CM Punk interested in a wrestling role. The eternal question of whether former WWE superstar CM Punk will ever return to the squared circle recently took an interesting direction during an online Q&A between wrestling's straight-edge superstar and the fans. A fan asked, if a wrestling promotion offered you a backstage role as a creative director, would you take the offer? And Punk replied, I'd listen. This shouldn't be taken as anything but idle speculation on Punk's part. Punk recently talked about returning to wrestling and commented that the industry isn't known for having many quality human beings. Punk seems happy making movies and doing his own thing, and by all accounts is financially secure. If he were able to return to wrestling, either as a performer or in creative, it would have to be somewhere where he's comfortable and where his efforts wouldn't be wasted. Next up, why Banks vs Belair rematch isn't happening. Newly crowned SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair is defending the title against Bayley at WrestleMania Backlash, and while Bayley certainly deserves a title shot, what about former champion Sasha Banks? Some fans were surprised to see that the boss disappeared from the title hunt since she just lost the belt to Belair. Ringside News is reporting that WWE feels it has a good reason for this. A tenured member of the team told us that Sasha taking a little time off to let Belair and Bayley have the spotlight is the plan, so when Sasha attacks Belair, it'll mean something. The WWE did something similar when Sasha Banks and Bayley feuded in 2020, with the WWE cutting the feud short after less than a handful of matches, with Bayley stating that she would go after Banks again when she felt the time was right. Some fans felt that the WWE had no choice but to do so because the first match in Banks vs Bayley's feud took place in a Hell in a Cell match, traditionally where a feud ends rather than begins. With Belair vs Banks, they may feel it's already established that Belair can beat her, and they want the EST to defeat as many top stars on the blue brand as possible in order to build her up into a viable main eventer. But what do you guys think of the WWE putting Banks vs Belair feud on the back burner? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, an MVP injury update. MVP has been busy managing WWE current champion Bobby Lashley despite suffering a knee injury last February during a six-man match against the Lucha House Party. While he's using a cane to get around, MVP revealed to WWE El Brunch de WWE, "I'm returning to Houston. As a matter of fact, here I've got exclusive news just for you and the WWE Espanol viewers. As many of you know, my knee has been bothering me for some time. I injured it a few months ago in the ring, and while it's better, it hasn't healed yet and we've been trying to avoid surgery. So we're going to try one more procedure, and if it still doesn't work, then I might have to get some minor arthroscopic surgery for the knee, but not yet. We're still going to try another treatment first." And the last thing a wrestler wants to do is to be sidelined by surgery, especially when they're in the midst of a main event program. And while he may need surgery at some point, you'll be sure he'll put it off for as long as possible. And finally, Seth Rollins takes a shot at the Young Bucks taking his look. And last but not least, we'll skip the talk of imitation being the sincerest form of flattery and instead note that the Young Bucks rocked a look on the 28th April Dynamite that was eerily reminiscent of Seth Rollins, so much so that Rollins tweeted the following: "Congratulations to my jacket on its successful trip through the Forbidden Door. Hashtag embrace the vision, hashtag ringleader." Now, although Seth didn't mention the Bucks by name, his use of the phrase Forbidden Door, which has been used to discuss the invisible barrier between AEW and WWE cooperating, he made it clear who he was talking about. But there you have it, folks, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.